Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. Today I have Jennie Agin with Storyfull Matchmaking.
I am a matchmaker and relationship coach, and I help soulful, smart singles find better matches, focusing on intentional dating and confidence building. I really like to provide curated introductions for people who maybe would have some difficulty finding folks that would be good fits for them naturally.
And what age range do you specialize in?
I work with a varied range, but generally between the ages of 30 to 55.
Okay, 30 to 55. Now, we were just away, went on a Virgin cruise and went to Dominican Republic and Turks and Caicos and met with like 78 other matchmakers. And
yeah, something that I have been very interested in learning more about is what are the ways that men in particular struggle when it comes to dating. And so I had lots of conversations with dating coaches and other matchmakers to learn about what are their top three issues that men generally struggle with. And so that is what I would like to discuss today. You ready for me to give you what those top three are?
yeah, what are the top three things that men are struggling with when it comes to dating right now in 2025?
Yeah. So the first thing is just having a difficult time having conversations that lead with curiosity and not small talk. Finding ways to be interested and not so much interesting, engaging the person that they're having a conversation with so that person walks away feeling like, wow, like I feel really good about that connection. They were interested in me and we had a really lovely conversation. So learning to ask better questions, I think, is the most important thing, right? So we want to steer away from the boring the boring small talk type conversations. What do you do? You want to ask questions that make people light up. So instead of asking like, what do, you can ask something related to, what's something exciting that you've learned recently, or, tell me about a time that you were really proud of what you did this last month, or something that's related to what they do, but not specifically just like, tell me what you do. Or if you have like little snippets of your own stories that you can share, you learning how to speak with brevity and concise sound bites so that you allow the other person to be able to provide a response and then share something related to how they connect with what you're saying.
So, for men to be better daters, they need to ask better questions and they need to not ask the same boring questions like, what do you do? But instead of asking, what do you do? Should they ask something like, what made you get into your field? Or what inspired you to go to law school? Or what inspired you to become an attorney? Like questions like that, where they get to
Yeah.
know a little bit more about them.
That is way more interesting to answer a question related to what you just said. What was your motivation? What was your inspiration? What's your background? Why, how? Those types of questions really lead to more interesting answers and more engaged conversations. And so learning to lead with curiosity in particular is going to be really important for those folks to be able to have more interesting conversations.
Yeah, yeah. What about point number two?
Yes. Point number two is like just learning how to show a woman that you're interested. There's generally a lack of skill when it comes to flirting. And oftentimes women will walk away from an encounter and they won't be sure whether or not that individual is interested in them. And so learning how to be really transparent and communicate your interest with verbal and nonverbal cues is going to be really important. And it's real easy to do that using compliments, for example. So letting somebody know that you like an answer that they gave you, for example, is really helpful. And also letting them know if they're, I mean, to a less extent, right? You can complement a physical attribute, but I think what people really enjoy is when you comment on something that they share with you, and that what they shared is interesting or impressive.
So going back to pretending that you're asking someone about what inspired them to become an attorney. So they tell you the whole story of how they got started. And then the man should say something like, wow, that is a great explanation of why you wanted to become an attorney. I can see why you do that. Your eyes just light up and or wow, your beautiful blue eyes just light up when you're talking about it. I'm like so impressed with how you went from undergrad to deciding to go take the LSAT and then become an attorney. That's pretty cool.
Commenting on somebody else's enthusiasm by mentioning their physical reaction like you did was, I think, fantastic. Specifically referencing the way that their eyes light up makes them
Their
feel like that.
beautiful blue eyes lit up.
Right? I think that's such a wonderful way to combine a physical compliment with something that is going to resonate with that person that you're speaking with.
But I feel like beautiful women don't want to be told that they're beautiful all the time online or in person. Like they want the guy to see them as something aside from just their beauty. So is that something that a lot of women would appreciate more? Is not just the physical compliment, like, wow, you're hot, or wow, you're so gorgeous in that dress, but rather, wow, that dress is a beautiful blue color on you. You have really good taste, like that.
I love it when people compliment me and tell me that I'm pretty.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
just me. But I know that there are plenty of women out there who enjoy just a simple compliment like that. But if you can take that compliment the way that you did and say, not only are you pretty, but you have phenomenal taste. I love the way that you dress, and your fashion sense suggests that you're really thoughtful about the way that you put your clothes together, and I really admire that about you. Then you're taking like a simple compliment and making moving it more into a reflection of how that person sees themselves. And so I think that those are the types of compliments that folks are going to be more likely to remember and appreciate more than just you are pretty.
Not to mention to give your date an early compliment when you first meet them. So you kind of don't put them in the friend zone or they right away look at you and be like, okay, yeah, that's a nice compliment, and maybe be more flirtatious and things like that. So,
Absolutely. I think it's an easy thing to look at the, what you can see, right? What somebody's wearing and make a comment about that. Like, I love your dress, or, I love your earrings. They're so interesting. Tell me more about them, or whatever. And then that can lead to more interesting conversations.
so what's the third point?
The third point is confidence. I think a lot of folks, a lot of men in particular, they struggle with not seeing themselves as somebody who is worthy of sex and or commitment, and that can really impact the way that their date sees them, because if you don't feel confident about yourself, why would somebody else? And so finding ways to say, like, these are the reasons why I can come to a relationship with my particular attributes. Like, this is the reason why somebody would want to date me, because I bring XYZ to the table. And then, this is why somebody would want to, make out with me, is because I bring XYZ to the table. And so if you just come up with like one or two things, that's going to automatically increase your own idea of self-worth that can be really attractive for folks when they're meeting for the first time in particular, or in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, I just got a date feedback from a man and a woman last night. They went out on a date, and she said the guy was really quiet, even though he didn't appear quiet to me in our consultation interview. And he seemed actually pretty outgoing. But for whatever reason, maybe his energy was low because he just flew in to meet her and he was tired or whatever that may be. But I also know that he is a very successful guy, meaning financially stable, built a company, did a great job with that. But he was trying to impress her, I think, but all he talked about were like his finances. It's like, yes, you're confident in what you do. Yes, we know you're successful based on the restaurant that I picked for you. But I don't think a man needs to talk about how much money he makes to a woman. Like, you can very well communicate those things based on telling her where you go on vacation or how you act or your how you spend your disposable income, whether you go skydiving or you travel. Like, anyone who travels, I feel like has disposable income and does pretty well, right? Otherwise, they can't afford a plane ticket or to go someplace. So I don't know. I thought I was really disappointed. That's how he led the date, by saying how much money he made or how successful he was. It's like, how would you advise a man to kind of let the woman know how successful he is? Because working with a matchmaker, I already know he's successful. I already told her that he's
Yeah.
successful. He doesn't need to tell his date that. But what are some ways of a guy to let a woman know that he's financially stable and not like full of debt?
I think my perspective would be very different because I wouldn't lead with success at all, right? If you're on a date with somebody that a matchmaker set you up with, I think the assumption is that this person is of good quality enough, that they are successful enough. And I would rather that person focus on wanting to learn about the other person in front of them. And I mentioned this before, but I think it's really important to show that you are interested in what the other person has to say rather than you or yourself are interesting. I think that's where people tend to fall into a bit of trouble, right? Because if they're so focused on making themselves sound interesting, then they're going to try and like come up with ways to like, let me show you how impressive I am, how successful I am, and all these different ways that I'm so amazing. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not impressed by that. I don't think a lot of women are really impressed by that. What they want to see is that like your success comes through with the confidence that you have and that you communicate with people. And the only way to do that is through, you know, in indirectly suggesting that you have confidence by asking specific questions and then responding to like, oh, like that's a similar situation to what I've experienced, and then maybe you share like a snippet. I had a conversation with a guy who he told me that the way that he likes to communicate with his directs is to think of himself as a farmer, and he likes to make sure that they have the nutrients that they need in order to grow. And I really loved that metaphor because it suggests he likes to garden, which I think is incredibly sexy, but also that he cares about the people that he works with and that look up to him, and that he's going to do his very best to make sure that they have what they need in order to be successful, which in and of itself is a fantastic quality of a successful, confident person that I absolutely would want to associate myself with. And I think that if we can allow folks to provide those types of ways to share how they can be successful without specifically saying they're successful, that would be my preference.
Isn't that weird that as we get older, we find gardening sexy because you can grow your own fruits, you can grow your own veggies. I mean, everything is so expensive at the stores now, right? Like, you could buy some beets and it's like $5 and you get just three little beets, and you could grow all that stuff and save so much money and be sexy at having a green thumb and stuff like that. And but I would never have thought that gardening is sexy when I was in my 20s. However, I wish I can garden now in my 50s. So, yeah, that's
That's so
interesting.
funny. I
I
always
mean,
thought it was sexy.
this is all the quirky stuff that you don't really think to put on your profile, but I think a woman who reads these profiles and sees all these things that you do, are incredibly sexy. For example, someone who can fix things around the house and is good, that they can fix their car and change the oil without taking it to, a tire shop. Like all that stuff is incredibly valuable in life. Like these are life skills that we don't really think about. And for women, man, if you like cooking or if you don't know how to cook, you should learn how to cook. Like that is an equivalent to house, doing house stuff that a man can do. Like cooking is actually really good life skill. And that is really sexy. Like it's sexy to invite a guy over and say, you know what? I would love to make you my best chicken fettuccine Alfredo from scratch. And that's impressive for him, right? He can come over, you can make a salad together, you could do things together, see how you interact. Like all these things are great ideas to put on your profile. And but I'm not talking about, oh, I love cooking, but this is my specialty. I love to do this and this. I love gardening, but I am so good at doing this, this, and this. Like to spell out details on your profile. So then the man or the woman who reads your profile can somehow connect with it and comment on it. You want to put stuff on your profile that people can comment on and ask you questions. So you're also making it easy for them to open up a conversation with you.
Absolutely. Finding common ground with things that you like, whether that's tacos or stargazing or
Yeah.
outdoor adventures or whatever.
What other
Cats.
things? What other things that might be out of the box that people can put in their profiles? Like they love reading all autobiography books or reading or watching documentaries
Yeah, this
or
something is interesting. I was just following one of these influencers who talk about different ways to hack the dating apps. And she said something really interesting that I thought was weird. And I'm curious your thoughts. She said that if, for women in particular who want to attract high level successful men, something that really resonates with them is stoicism. So if you mentioned like using the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, or I forget who the author was, that would be a way to connect with really successful men. And that was an interesting takeaway that I read. Have you come across different things that people talk about as like what's really important to successful men or women right now to
well,
mention?
one thing to hack on a dating profile, if you want a successful guy, and a lot of them, the CEOs or presidents or executives go golfing, right? Like if you want to attract a guy who goes golfing, it would be nice if you took some golf lessons so you can speak about golf and know how to talk about the lingo, like the tee time or the greens or how to putt or what club to use or driver to use. Like have some background in that. But if you're trying to attract that kind of men, you can put in your profile, like, not that you golf and you're lying about golfing, but you could say, I am not good at golf, but I would be open to learning, just so that that key word is in your profile and the word golf is in your profile. So maybe it might match you up with the guy who golfs. So something like that, I've
That
heard
makes
that
sense.
might
I
work.
mean, the hope is that you actually want to learn more about golf. I also read that pickleball is something else that highly successful men are interested in right now, which you know a lot about. Um, and so that could be another easy thing to mention on your profile as well, if you're looking for a pickleball partner.
Yeah, it's tough when you play pickleball because I don't wear my wedding ring when I play or when I go to the gym. So you kind of don't know who's single and who's not. So, but it's so easy to make friends at the gym and it's so easy to make friends at pickleball that I feel like any woman who maybe has a tennis background or no tennis background or no badminton or ping pong background can pick up pickleball. And it's so easy to learn. And if you're new, all the new people are so friendly anyway. So you can make friends that way, join a beginners league and start building your friendships, getting phone numbers, and you'll know over time who's single and who's not. And if there's a tournament that your pickleball place has, that's an excuse to ask a guy if they'll be your partner, right? Like there's so many ways to actively seek out these connections with single men, I think, if if you want, if you're interested. So yeah, I love pickleball. I've been addicted since January. And it's also a great way for me to meet friends. Like I've met a lot of guy friends, girlfriends, married friends, single friends. So yeah, it's all the rage right now. So
I love that. And I think that when we're thinking about different ways that men and women can meet each other, I think it's also helpful to talk about finding communities in general where you are able to share a particular hobby or skill or interest with other people who share that interest. And that even if you don't meet the person that you're going to date, like you can build connections with people that can lead to friendships. And that is valuable as well. So I
yeah,
think
and
are great.
to piggyback on that a little bit, Jenny, I feel like if there's something that you like to do, just go and do it, whether you have to register alone and do it yourself. Like that's the best way to meet new people is if you're by yourself and you're almost forced to talk to new friends and new strangers because if you go and register for something with a friend, you're just going to talk to that friend. But it makes you go outside of your comfort zone if you just are forced to, right? Like if you show up and you're by yourself, like it's no different than, we went on that cruise and when we were in Dominican Republic, I'm like, I want to go and do an adventure. So I signed up for the zip line and the swim at the waterfalls and jumping in the water and also the buggy ride. I just did it myself and it forced me to make friends with other people, forced me to talk to other people. And it's okay that they knew I was by myself because then I just got paired up with other people. So, yeah, it's just don't be afraid to do what you like and have the confidence to do it alone.
Absolutely. Jump in there, jump into, jump inside or outside of your comfort zone. And there are activities and communities out there that are like low risk, low pressure, like board game meetups, or, I host events where
Mhm.
people play card games in groups of four and then rotate. So there are things out there that people can dig their teeth into so that they can meet folks, but don't have to worry about putting themselves exposing so much of themselves in an uncomfortable way.
Yeah, I
So
feel like EventBrite or meetup.com or Facebook, there's so many ways to get involved in groups and to say you're interested and just to go and do it. I mean, you're right. These are low cost. It's not a whole lot of money. A lot of them are free, and you just never know who you'll meet. And if you go into these things and places just with the idea of, you know what, I'm just here to meet new people, you might have fun, you might meet a really hot guy or girl. You might meet a really introverted, dorky person, but that's like in real life. If you go into
I
Whole
love the
Foods,
introverted, dorky people.
like if you go into Whole
Isn't my
Foods, you
way.
might meet someone who's really cute. You might meet someone who's like really sketchy. So you just never know. I mean, it's just giving yourself a chance and giving them a chance and just have fun and go with it.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it is just give yourself a chance, give them a chance. Let people show you the best of themselves. I
Yeah.
think if you lead with that sort of positive, open mindset, you'll be happily surprised most of the time.
Yeah, I know this is called the Asian Dating Podcast. And one thing I wanted to bring up as I was helping a client do online dating she's Asian, she wanted to date Asian men. And it was so weird. And I don't know if the listeners out there know anything. Please comment in the comment below. But why do Asian men don't want to give out their phone numbers to talk to the woman? Like the woman is actually my client in this case. I don't take a whole lot of women, but I do have two that I'm working with because I think they're great and I want to help them. But she went on to do online dating and she realized that the men want to text her back and not talk on the phone, which is goes against everything we've talked about on this podcast is, hey, after one or two messaging back and forth when you're doing online dating, you just want to get on the phone and start talking or hop on a FaceTime call. But
Yes,
these Chinese Asian men don't want to give their phone numbers for a phone call. They just want to text offline, meaning, away from the app. And I just don't get that. Like,
I
unless
do.
you're like a
I can see
scammer.
why there's a certain level of safety in the anonymity of text
But
messages.
that's so ridiculous. That's not the way to date. And I can see why there are a lot of Asian men out there who are single and not doing well and complaining about dating. And I'm not saying to stop doing that because it keeps me in business. If, you date poorly, that makes me have better success with my clients. But at the same time, I just don't understand why the Asian men just don't want to give their phone numbers out. Like, is
I
it
think it comes back to a
security
lack of
reasons?
skill. I think
Yeah.
it's a lack of skill and a lack of confidence. And so those folks would be phenomenal uh, individuals that could be receptive to coaching about, how do we show up on a phone call or a FaceTime and do that with confidence and feeling good about the way that we enter into those things. And those types of individuals would be great for um, mock dates, which is something that I learned about on the cruise. Some of the date coaches that we met, they offer the ability to do a date over Zoom or in person if that's available. And then that experience can then be used as great feedback about how do you show up in your dating world. Are there ways that you can improve how you present yourself to women or men? And those types of people would really benefit from that, I think.
Yeah, I forgot about mock dates, but you're right. A mock date, if you're not sure how you come off to others, or you just want some guidance or some feedback, and to do a date on Zoom with a beautiful woman to see how you would be and then get the feedback on what you can do better, that's a great idea. And if there are people out there that want to do mock date, whether you're Asian or not Asian, that's a great way to learn if you're failing at getting second dates. That's a great way for you to figure out what can I do to just tweak this a little bit and get some professional help with it. That's a good point, Jenny.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys can email Jenny and ask about mock dates, and she
Sure.
can connect you to the right person. And I'll put all of your information in the show notes, of course. So, oh, going back to having men feel confident in dating or in their life, like I feel like how I gained my confidence in life is when I started becoming a good salesperson. When I used to work for
Hmm.
Enterprise Rent a Car, or when I used to be a server in college, I would win the strawberry selling contest because I was good at sales. So that gave me the confidence to excel in all areas of my life, and just the ability to speak up or be a public speaker. I feel like if you have one good thing you're good at and excel at, you can just add on to that. But I believe that in order for you to be more confident with dating is actually just doing it, and take these calls when you're online dating and make a mistake. Just talk to the women, like just get feedback from, mock dates, and continually fine tune that and be open to getting rejected, because that's part of life, getting rejected. Even though you're making friends with someone of the same sex, like a girlfriend that I meet at the gym, she might not want to be my friend, but I could reach out to try to be friends with her. But if she doesn't reciprocate or there's no natural chemistry, then I just move on. She doesn't want to be my friend. That's the same thing with dating. It's like you meet a woman, you ask her out, you go for coffee, you wonder if, if she wants to go out with you again, and you ask her out, and you just keep going through the motions and taking the rejection or taking the second dates, but just don't quit and like give up on that, because you're not going to get
Absolutely.
better if you give up.
I want to go back to like what you said about what gave you confidence. I
Yeah.
think that we all have things that we're really good at, and that gives us confidence. But something that a lot of folks are not great at are talking about it. And the only way to get better at that is just to do it. And I
Mhm.
think that the more practice that people have talking about the things that they're really good at, that they really enjoy, that they love, but like talking about it in a way that also allows another person to comment about it, or maybe they could ask a question like, is that something that you're interested in, or whatever. It's just so you can invite this person into your world. The only way to get better at that is to practice and going to things like Toastmasters or doing mock dates or practicing with friends. Like, how do you talk about the things that you love and that you're really good at in short snippets that provide a way for folks to feel like they are interested and want to hear more about maybe how they relate to that, or how would that make them think that they're really something that they really love or that they're really interested in. And and yeah, when it comes down to building confidence, the only way that we get better at it is through practice. And that's what I wanted to just make sure that we spoke a little bit about, because at the end of the day, I felt for my personal life, I was really confident in the fact that I could speak in front of a group of people because I had 10 years of experience speaking in front of middle school and high school students. So I learned how to do that pretty well as a result, but I also attended a workshop that helped me hone those particular skills, right? So that I feel more confident when it comes to storytelling. And not everybody has that experience. And I do think it's important to provide ways to work on that skill. Toastmasters is great. Going to business networking things is great. Going to improv theater activities is also phenomenal. Learning how to use your creativity and work with other people to build out a fun skit. It's scary, and you're not going to be good at it at first, but it would be hugely helpful, I think, for
Yeah.
folks who particularly struggle with having that inner confidence and knowing what to say. Just put yourself in situations where you're forced to do that, and you will get better.
Yeah.
Working with people, identifying their blind spots. I think a lot of people don't realize the way they come off to other people. And individuals who say, for example, that they struggle with getting second dates, those folks really would benefit from having that third person objective lens to provide a mirror to say, you may not have realized this, but when you say this, or how you say this, it comes off a certain way that can be really off-putting for people, for women, for men. And then, identifying ways you can improve that. And the only way to do that is to get a coach
Yeah.
and to practice and go through it, and then, meet more people.
Yeah, I
But
feel
yeah,
like the people who come to us or maybe listening to this podcast have the means to hire a coach, hire someone to do a mock date, or hire someone just to get one or two sessions in and have them give you some professional guidance and honest feedback, because your friends might not tell you these things. Your friends might be like, "Oh, you're great. Yeah, I don't know why you're not getting a second date." Well, they're lost, but maybe there's something you could do about that to help get a second date. If you're going on a ton of first dates and you want to date that person, those people again, and you're just not getting a second date, then let's figure out why. Why not? Right?
absolutely. And getting that expert guidance is going to be crucial for your dating life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jennie, thank you so much for joining me on the
So
Asian Dating
fun.
podcast. And for people out there, if you're looking for Jennie and what she says resonates with you, and you think that, she might be a good date coach for me or a good matchmaker for me, then contact her. I'll put her information in the show notes. And as always, if you're looking for love and looking for Asian women, that is my specialty. So my information is also down below. So